In the grand hall of the Imperial Council, thousands of lights gleamed against the dark metal walls. Admiral Stone stood before the council, his old uniform still fitting perfectly despite his retirement. His weathered face showed the marks of countless battles, but today's fight would be with words. "Members of the council," he began, "I must warn you about the species you plan to conquer. These humans." The council members shifted in their seats. High Lord Rex, the head of the council, leaned forward. "You fought them before. 20 years ago. A border incident that never made the official records." Stone's voice grew quiet. "We lost an entire battle group to a single human ship." Whispers filled the hall. The Empire had ruled space for 10,000 years. No species had ever destroyed an Imperial battle group. "Impossible," said General Mills, slamming his fist on the table. "Our ships are the most advanced in the galaxy. No primitive Earth vessel could." "They didn't beat us with better ships," Stone interrupted. "They beat us with impossible tactics. They used an asteroid field as cover, turned their damaged ship into a weapon, and fought in ways we'd never seen." The council chamber grew silent. Stone activated a hologram showing Earth. "Look at their history. Every time they faced a stronger enemy, they adapted. They turned weaknesses into strengths. When they couldn't match power, they used clever tricks." "But we have mapped their planet," said Captain Bridge. "Their technology is centuries behind ours. They haven't even colonized their solar system properly." Stone shook his head. "That's what makes them dangerous. They've spent their entire history fighting each other. Their war techniques evolved while fighting equals. Most species develop war technology to fight weaker enemies. Humans, they always punch above their weight." High Lord Rex raised his hand for silence. "Admiral, you sound afraid of these humans." "I am afraid," Stone admitted. "Not of their ships or their weapons. I'm afraid of their minds. In that border battle, we destroyed their ship's engines. They should have surrendered. Instead, they used their dead ship like a missile, hiding in the debris field, then catching our command ship by surprise. One lucky victory doesn't make them a threat," General Mills argued. "You don't understand." Stone's voice grew sharp. "We killed half their crew. By our standards, they had lost. By their standards, they were still in the fight. They don't think like us. They never give up." Stone walked to the center of the room. "I've studied them since that day. They have a saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' When pushed into a corner, they become most dangerous. Their fiction is filled with stories of humanity beating stronger enemies. They don't just dream of victory against superior forces. They expect it." The council members looked at each other uneasily. High Lord Rex spoke again. "What would you have us do?" "Leave them alone. The Empire never backs down." "Maybe that's why we should," Stone said quietly. "They're not ready for the stars yet. Give them time. Let them join the galaxy peacefully, because if you force them to fight—" He paused, looking each council member in the eye. "They will fight, and they will learn, and they will win." Laughter erupted from several council members. General Mills stood up. "This is ridiculous. One old admiral, scared by a lucky human trick. We are the Empire. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. We will not be scared away from one primitive planet." High Lord Rex nodded. "The decision is made. We will bring Earth into the Empire. Admiral Stone, your warning is noted, but the Empire must expand. You are dismissed." Stone walked slowly from the chamber. At the door, he turned one last time. "Remember my words when the humans surprise you. Remember I told you to run." The door closed behind him, leaving the council to plan their invasion. None of them noticed how their guards had gone quiet, how the younger officers looked troubled. None of them realized that Stone's warning had planted the first seeds of doubt in the Empire's strength. In space high above Earth, Imperial ships gathered for the first contact mission. Soon, The Empire would learn whether Stone's warning was the ramblings of a frightened old man or the wisest advice they had ever ignored. The dice were cast. The Empire had made its choice, and humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin. The Imperial diplomatic vessel Star Crown descended through Earth's atmosphere, its golden hull gleaming in the sunlight. On the ground at the chosen landing site in neutral Switzerland, world leaders and military commanders gathered to meet humanity's first alien visitors. Commander Ward stood at attention, representing Earth's United Defense Force. Next to him, President Thompson of the Global Council kept her face carefully neutral. They had both read the reports about unusual alien ship movements near the outer solar system. This wasn't just a diplomatic meeting. It was a chance to gauge their potential enemies. The Star Crown landed with perfect precision, its landing struts touching down without raising a speck of dust. From its side, a ramp extended, revealing 3 Imperial diplomats in ornate robes. "They look almost human," Thompson whispered. "That's what worries me," Ward replied. "Too convenient." The lead Imperial diplomat, Lord Black, walked forward with measured steps. His smile seemed practiced, his movements too controlled. Behind him, his guards carried ceremonial staffs that Ward's instincts screamed were weapons. "People of Earth," Lord Black's voice boomed across the field, somehow speaking perfect English. "The Galactic Empire greets you. We bring an offer of peace and integration into our grand civilization." President Thompson stepped forward. "We welcome you to Earth. We look forward to peaceful dialogue between our peoples." Lord Black's smile widened. "Excellent, though there is one small formality." He produced a document. "This is a standard treaty of submission. Once signed, Earth will become a protectorate of the Empire. We will guide your development, control your military forces, and submission." Thompson's voice turned cold. "We were expecting negotiations between equals, not demands for surrender." The Imperial diplomat's smile vanished. "You misunderstand. This is not a request. The Empire has ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. We are offering you a chance to join peacefully." Ward noticed the Imperial guards shifting their stances. His hand moved closer to his concealed sidearm. "Earth does not submit," Thompson stated firmly. "We are happy to discuss peaceful relations, trade agreements, cultural exchange." "Primitives," spat the second Imperial diplomat. "You dare reject the Empire's generous offer." The tension in the air could be cut with a knife. Imperial guards tightened their grips on their staffs. Earth's security forces moved subtly into defensive positions. "Please," Thompson tried again. "Let's discuss this calmly. Surely the Empire values diplomatic solutions." The second Imperial diplomat suddenly raised his staff. "You will learn respect." Everything happened in seconds. The staff's end began to glow. Ward shouted "gun" and pushed Thompson aside. The Imperial Guard fired, the energy blast missing Thompson, but hitting 2 Earth security officers. The field erupted in chaos. Earth's forces returned fire. The Imperial diplomats, clearly unused to real combat, panicked. Lord Black took a bullet to the shoulder, his perfect composure shattering as he screamed in very human-like pain. "Back to the ship," he shrieked. The Imperial party retreated in disorder, their ceremonial staffs proving poor weapons against Earth's battle-hardened soldiers. The Star Crown's engines roared to life. As it lifted off, Earth's anti-aircraft batteries tracked it, but held their fire on Thompson's order. "We could have shot them down," Ward said quietly. Thompson watched the ship disappear into the clouds. "No. Let them go. Let them report to their empire." She turned to face the gathering of world leaders. Everyone saw what happened here. They came expecting us to kneel. When we refused, they resorted to violence. "The Empire will retaliate," someone in the crowd said. "Let them come," Ward's voice carried across the field. "They showed their true nature today. They're not gods or benevolent rulers. They're bullies who expect submission, and they just shot first at a peaceful diplomatic meeting." Thompson nodded. Send the word to all nations. As of this moment, Earth is at war with the Galactic Empire, but they made a mistake today. She looked at the bodies of the fallen security officers. They showed us they can bleed. They showed us they can panic. They showed us they're not invincible. As emergency vehicles arrived and the crowd dispersed, Ward looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Empire was preparing for war, probably expecting an easy victory over a primitive planet. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The Imperial battle fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system. 500 warships, led by the massive dreadnought Empire's Glory, formed up for what they expected to be a simple conquest. Admiral Grant watched them from Earth's hidden orbital command center. Just like we predicted, he said. They're following standard military doctrine. Perfect formation, by the book. They think we're primitives, General Reed replied, studying the holographic display. Look at how spread out they are. They're not even in a defensive posture. The Imperial fleet moved forward with absolute confidence. Their first wave of fighters launched, heading toward Earth's orbital defense platforms. Shouldn't we power up our defenses? A young officer asked nervously. Grant smiled. Not yet. Let them get closer. Let them think they've caught us unprepared. The Imperial fighters reached the defense platforms and opened fire. Their energy weapons passed straight through the platforms without effect. Holograms, Reed chuckled. Oldest trick in the book. The Imperial fleet's formation wavered slightly as their scouts reported the deception. Then the real battle began. Earth's actual defense platforms decloaked behind the Imperial fleet. The technology, reverse-engineered from the diplomatic vessel's sensors, worked perfectly. Energy beams lanced out, catching the Imperial ships completely by surprise. All units, execute Plan Thunder, Grant ordered. From hidden bases on the Moon and Mars, Earth's fighters launched. They were smaller than Imperial ships, more primitive in some ways, but they carried one huge advantage. Human pilots who had trained their entire lives for space combat in simulator programs. The Imperial fleet scrambled to respond, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Their commanders had never faced an enemy that could appear from nowhere, had never dealt with fighters that ignored traditional space combat rules. Look at them, Reed said with grim satisfaction. They don't know how to handle multiple threats at once. Their command structure is too rigid. Earth's fighters struck from all directions, using maneuvers that seemed suicidal to Imperial tacticians. They flew through their own explosion debris, used the sun's radiation to mask their approaches, and executed split-second coordinated attacks that left Imperial gunners firing at empty space. They're targeting our command ships, an Imperial officer reported frantically. But how do they know which ones? Because we watched you, Grant whispered, though the Imperial commander couldn't hear him. We studied every second of footage from that diplomatic mission. We learned your ship markings, your command protocols, your formation patterns. The battle raged for hours. Imperial ships, despite their superior technology, found themselves constantly outwitted. Every time they adapted to one human tactic, Earth's forces switched to another. When they grouped together for protection, humanity's hidden mass drivers launched asteroid fragments at their tight formations. When they spread out, Earth's fighters picked them off one by one. Sir, a sensor operator called out. The Empire's Glory is charging its main weapon. Grant nodded, just as expected. Activate Operation Mirror. As the Imperial dreadnought fired its planet-killer weapon at Earth, 100 hidden satellites activated. The energy beam hit the first satellite and bounced, striking another, then another, forming a deadly web of deflected energy. The Empire's Glory's own weapon fire caught it in the stern, cutting through its shields as if they weren't there. Impossible. The Imperial Admiral watched his mighty flagship split apart. These primitives. How? The Imperial fleet broke. For the first time in centuries, the Empire retreated in disarray. Nearly half their ships were destroyed or disabled, while Earth had lost only a quarter of its forces. In the command center, Grant and Reed watched the Imperial ships flee into hyperspace. "They'll be back," Reed said quietly. "Yes," Grant agreed. "But now they know. Now they understand what old Admiral Stone tried to warn them about." A cheer went up through the command center as the last Imperial ship disappeared. Humanity had won its first major space battle. But more importantly, they had shown the galaxy something new. The art of asymmetric warfare taken to the stars. "Send word to all Earth forces," Grant ordered. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin preparing for Phase 2. The Empire thought this would be a simple conquest. He smiled grimly. Let's show them how wrong they were. Above Earth, the wreckage of Imperial ships drifted silently, a warning to any who thought humanity would be an easy target. In the deepest level of the Imperial Central Archives, Lord White stared at his screens in growing horror. After the devastating defeat at Earth, the Empire had assigned him to study human warfare. What he found kept him awake at night. "My lord," his assistant entered with another data stack. "We've translated more of their military history." White waved at his main screen. "Look at this, the Battle of Thermopylae. 300 soldiers held off an army of thousands. Even in defeat, they changed the course of their history. Surely that's just an ancient legend." No. White pulled up another file. "Their entire history is filled with smaller forces defeating larger ones. Vietnam, Afghanistan, guerrilla warfare, asymmetric combat. They've spent millennia perfecting the art of fighting superior forces." The assistant looked troubled. "But we have better technology, more ships. Like we had at Earth." White stood up and paced the room. "We lost half a fleet to their primitive weapons because they used them in ways we never imagined. Do you know what they call it? Thinking outside the box. Breaking conventional rules." He pulled up another screen showing human scientific advancement. "Look at this curve. Most species advance steadily. Humans, they make sudden leaps. Crisis drives them to innovate. War makes them evolve. Surely they must have some weakness," the assistant said. "That's what's terrifying." White pointed to different screens. "They wage brutal wars, yet they show mercy to defeated enemies. They can be savagely violent, then display remarkable kindness. They're unpredictable. Our psychological models can't handle their contradictions." New alerts flashed on his screens. Reports from the frontier. Humans had adapted Imperial shield technology, improved it, and were now using it in ways the Empire's engineers had never considered. 3 months, White whispered. It took them 3 months to understand and enhance technology that took us centuries to develop. Their adaptation rate is off the charts. The assistant studied the reports. How is this possible? Because they never stopped competing with themselves. White brought up Earth's entertainment archives. Look at their fiction. They constantly imagine new technologies, new ways of fighting, new strategies. They'd been preparing for space warfare for centuries through their stories and games. More alerts. Human forces had been spotted testing new weapons. They were using Imperial technology combined with their own in hybrid systems that defied Imperial military doctrine. "We thought their primitive technology made them weak." White's voice shook slightly. "But it meant they understood their tools completely. Now they're taking our advanced technology and using it in ways we never imagined. What do we do?" White turned to his assistant. "We warn the High Command. The Empire needs to change its approach. We can't fight humans the way we fight other species. They learn too fast, adapt too quickly." He brought up footage from the Battle of Earth. "Look how they fight. No fixed patterns. No standardized responses. Each human commander uses different tactics. They encourage individual initiative. That's chaos." The assistant protested. "How can they maintain order?" "They don't want order. They thrive in chaos." White's hands moved across the screens. "Their best commanders are the ones who can make snap decisions, who can improvise. Our strength has always been our perfect order, our unchanging doctrine. Against humans, that's our weakness." A final report flashed on his screen. White read it, and sank into his chair. "What is it?" the assistant asked. "They're not just copying our technology now. They're improving it, making it work in ways our scientists said were impossible." He looked up at his assistant. "We're not fighting a primitive species. We're fighting the most dangerous kind of intelligence, one that knows it has to catch up, and is absolutely determined to do so." As if to emphasize his point, another alert showed human ships using a new form of faster-than-light travel, one that somehow combined Imperial technology with Earth theories about spacetime. "Send everything to High Command," White ordered. "Tell them." He paused, remembering Admiral Stone's warning. "Tell them we're not facing barbarians. We're facing humanity. And they're just getting started." Above his screens, a clock counted down to the next expected human offensive. The Empire had 3 days to learn from White's research. It wouldn't be enough time. "Fleet ready for jump," Commander West reported from the bridge of the Earth flagship Revenge. Around him, the combined forces of humanity prepared for their first major offensive into Imperial space. Admiral Lee studied the holographic display. 500 Earth ships, each using hybrid technology that combined human ingenuity with reversed engineered Imperial systems. They weren't as sleek as Imperial vessels, but they were deadlier. "All ships, execute Operation Thunderbolt," Lee ordered. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace using their new drives. Imperial sensors would see them coming, but wouldn't recognize the signature. That was the point. They emerged in the heart of Imperial territory, right above the critical supply world of Nova Prime. Imperial defense ships scrambled to respond, forming their traditional battle lines. "Look at them," West said, "still using the same old formations." Lee nodded. "Launch the drones." Thousands of small, unmanned craft shot from Earth's ships. The Empire had always considered drone warfare beneath them, preferring the honor of manned vessels. Now that arrogance would cost them. The drones split into swarms, each following different attack patterns. Some rushed straight at Imperial ships, others hung back to provide sensor data, while others specifically targeted Imperial communication arrays. "They're trying to adapt," West reported, watching the Imperial fleet split up to deal with multiple threats. "Too late," Lee replied. "Execute Phase 2. Earth's main ships accelerated forward, each one operating independently according to its commander's judgment. There was no central strategy for the Empire to counter, no single pattern to defend against. Imperial ships found themselves overwhelmed. When they grouped up for protection, human vessels would split them apart with precision strikes. When they spread out, they'd be swarmed by drones. Every Imperial counter-tactic was met with 3 different human responses. "Sir," West called out, "we're receiving transmissions from the planet's surface." Lee checked his display. The civilian population of Nova Prime was surrendering. Not to the Empire's enemies, but to human protection forces. "They've heard about us," Lee realized, "about how we treat conquered populations." Reports flooded in from the planet. Imperial citizens were actually helping Earth forces target military installations while avoiding civilian areas. They'd seen how Earth treated prisoners and civilians in previous battles, with respect and care rather than Imperial harshness. "Multiple Imperial ships are powering down weapons," West reported with surprise. "They're surrendering." Lee watched as nearly a third of the Imperial fleet shut down their systems. Their crews had realized something the Empire's high command hadn't. Humanity made better allies than masters. "Send the message," Lee ordered. To every Imperial ship and installation in range, Earth's fleet broadcast their terms: surrender and be treated with respect, or fight and be defeated. More ships surrendered. The remaining Imperial forces retreated in disarray, leaving one of their core worlds in human hands. "Casualty report," Lee demanded. "Minimal, sir," West replied. "We lost 20 ships, mostly drones." "Imperial losses." He paused. "Over 60% of their fleet either destroyed or surrendered." Lee stood at his command station, watching Imperial citizens already starting to coordinate with Earth forces for a peaceful transition. Send word to Earth Command. Nova Prime is secured. The Empire's outer defense ring is broken. Sir, West spoke quietly. The Imperial citizens, they're celebrating. They're happy we won. Of course they are. Lee turned to his bridge crew. The Empire ruled through fear and rigid control. We're offering something new. Freedom, respect, and protection without submission. Reports continued to come in. Other Imperial worlds were asking for human protection. The Empire's iron grip was cracking, not from military defeat alone, but from the realization that humanity offered a better way. Prepare for Phase 3, Lee ordered. And send a message to all Imperial worlds in range. We're not here to conquer. We're here to liberate. Above Nova Prime, Earth's fleet regrouped for their next advance. The Empire had expected to face barbarians. Instead, they faced something far more dangerous, an enemy that could win both the military and moral victory. The counterattack had begun, and with it, the Empire's greatest nightmare. Their own citizens choosing humanity's way over Imperial rule. In the Imperial capital world of Nexus Prime, Lord Green watched his empire crumble through 100 different screens. Each one showed a different world in rebellion. Different Imperial citizens choosing humanity's side. Another sector has fallen, his aide reported. The local fleet. They joined the humans. Green slammed his fist on the control panel. Impossible. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years. How can we lose to primitives? My lord, look at this. The aide brought up footage from a recently fallen world. Imperial citizens worked alongside human forces, rebuilding cities damaged in the fighting. Former Imperial soldiers trained with Earth commanders, learning new tactics. They're not just defeating us, Green realized. They're showing our people a different way to live. More reports flooded in. On world after world, Imperial citizens were rising up. Not with violence, but with something more powerful, hope. Humanity's approach to governance was spreading like wildfire through the Empire. Sir, a junior officer burst into the command center. The outer defense fleets. They're standing down. Admiral Rock says he won't fire on civilian targets, even under orders. Green felt his world spinning. The Empire's perfect order was dissolving. Their rigid hierarchy, once their strength, was becoming their weakness. On his screens, he watched human diplomatic teams meeting with Imperial planetary governors. They weren't demanding submission or tribute. They were offering partnership, protection, and autonomy. The mining worlds of Sector 7 have declared independence, his aide reported. They're requesting human peacekeepers. Peacekeepers? Green laughed bitterly. They're asking our enemies to protect them from us. How did it come to this? The answer played out on his screens. Humans treated conquered worlds with respect, integrated local customs into their governance, and allowed people to maintain their identity while joining the larger community. My lord, his aide spoke quietly. Perhaps the humans aren't the barbarians we thought they were. Before Green could respond, alarms blared through the capital. On the main screen, a massive human fleet appeared at the system's edge. But they weren't in attack formation. They're broadcasting on all frequencies, the communications officer reported. The message was simple. People of the Empire, we offer you choice. Stay with your current rulers or join a new galactic community. No conquest, no submission, just cooperation. Green watched in disbelief as Imperial citizens poured into the streets, not in fear, but in celebration. The Empire's own people were choosing humanity's way. Sir, his aide said, the palace guard. They're laying down their weapons. The planetary defense grid is powering down. 10,000 years, Green whispered. We ruled through strength and fear for 10,000 years. And humanity defeated us not with weapons, but with something stronger, hope. On every screen, the revolution spread. Not with blood and violence, but with Imperial citizens simply choosing a different path. The Empire's perfect order was being replaced by something new: organized chaos, individual choice, freedom within structure. The Imperial Council is surrendering, someone reported. They're requesting negotiations with human representatives. Green stood at his command post, watching the empire he'd served his entire life transform before his eyes. Humanity hadn't just beaten them militarily. They'd shown the galaxy a better way to exist. "Send the message," he said finally. "Tell the humans. Tell them the capital accepts their terms." As human ships entered orbit, Green realized Admiral Stone had been right all along. The warning shouldn't have been about humanity's military might, but about something far more powerful: their ability to change the very nature of galactic civilization. Outside his window, citizens celebrated in the streets. The revolution wasn't fought with weapons, but with ideas. And humanity's ideas had proven stronger than 10,000 years of imperial rule. The empire was ending, not with a bang, but with its people simply choosing a different way. And perhaps, Green thought as he watched human ships land peacefully in the capital, that was the greatest victory of all. 1 year after the Empire's surrender, the new Galactic Council chamber bustled with activity. Unlike the old Imperial Hall's rigid seating arrangement, the new chamber was circular, with all representatives seated as equals. President Thompson, now serving as Earth's representative, watched delegates from 100 worlds discuss trade routes and cultural exchanges. Former imperial worlds sat alongside human colonies, their representatives engaged in lively debate. "Still hard to believe," Admiral Grant said, standing beside her. "A year ago, we were fighting for survival. Now we're helping build a new galactic society." "Humans are good at building things," Thompson replied. "Even better at rebuilding them." Below them, a former Imperial Worlds delegate was proposing a new education exchange program with Earth universities. The idea of sharing knowledge freely still shocked former Imperial citizens, but they were learning fast. "Report from the frontier sectors." Grant handed her a datapad. "The last Imperial holdout worlds are requesting membership in the Council. Even the hardliners are realizing the benefits of cooperation." Thompson scrolled through the report. Former Imperial warships now served as joint patrol vessels, their crews a mix of species working together. The rigid Imperial command structure had been replaced by a flexible system that encouraged initiative and innovation. "Look at that." She pointed to a section of the report. "Former Imperial officers are teaching at our space academies. They're helping us understand their technology, while we teach them new ways to use it." The chamber's main display showed construction projects across former Imperial space. The old Empire had built for control and intimidation. The new projects focused on connection and community. "Message from Admiral Stone," Grant said with a smile. "He says we proved him right, but in ways he never expected." Stone had become something of a legend, the Imperial officer who tried to warn his people about humanity. Now he served as an advisor to the new council, helping bridge the gap between old and new. "Incoming transmission from the Frontier Research Station," an aide announced. The chamber's display shifted to show a joint human-Imperial science team. They had combined Earth's theoretical physics with Imperial technology to create something new: safe, stable wormhole travel. "That's what the Empire never understood," Thompson said quietly. "Humans don't just conquer or adapt. We innovate. We create. We make things better." The council session continued, dealing with everything from trade disputes to cultural preservation. Former Imperial worlds were learning democracy, while human colonies learned from thousands of years of galactic experience. "Warning buoys are in place," Grant reported. "Any species thinking about conquest will find Admiral Stone's message waiting for them. Do not fight humans. They will not just defeat you. They will change you." Thompson watched a group of children, human and alien alike, tour the chamber's upper gallery. They pointed excitedly at the stars visible through the transparent dome, their differences forgotten in shared wonder. The real victory wasn't military, she realized. It was showing the galaxy a better way. The Empire ruled through fear for 10,000 years. We showed them how to rule through hope. Final reports came in from across known space. The last Imperial prison worlds had been converted to rehabilitation centers. The Imperial case system had given way to merit-based advancement. The rigid borders that had divided space had been replaced by open trade routes. Council is calling for final votes. Grant noted. The new Galactic Constitution is ready for ratification. Thompson took her place among the delegates. The document they were about to approve enshrined the best of humanity's ideals alongside the wisdom of 1,000 worlds. It guaranteed rights, protected freedoms, and established a framework for genuine cooperation. To think, she whispered as the votes were cast. The Empire thought they were the teachers. Turns out everyone had something to learn. The Constitution passed unanimously. As celebrations broke out across the chamber, Thompson looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other species might be watching, wondering whether to approach Earth as friends or enemies. Thanks to the Empire's experience, they would choose friendship. The galaxy had learned its lesson about underestimating humanity. But more importantly, it had learned humanity's greatest strength wasn't in fighting wars, but in building peace. The new order was established, and it was better than anything the Empire had built in 10,000 years.